Hello, my name is Joe Provost in the Chemistry and Biochemistry Department here at University of San Diego. Today we're going to talk about the tabletop centrifuge. So here at USD in the Chemistry, Biochemistry, Biology Department, Physics Department, we've all gotten together to share for two new centrifuges. We have a floor model and now a new tabletop model. And these two will augment themselves. This centrifuge will only have one rotor for the foreseeable future. It's a swinging bucket rotor. This rotor has about a 4,500 G-force max limit. You don't have to worry about taking in or out of this rotor for this head, although there are rotors that can be purchased and traded out. For now, we're just going to stay with this. So, with a swinging bucket rotor, it's pretty simple. You have to make sure that the buckets on opposite side match, and then the tubes that go in are symmetrically laid out. So as you see here, we have two tubes symmetrically placed. This, or even this, is asymmetric, and it's not the preferred way to do it. If you have multiple tubes, you want to have them mirrored across the center line in each bucket. Now we have many different buckets. We have the buckets you see right here. These buckets are for conical or falcon type tubes. They have a conical shape in the bottom to support the tubes as they centrifuge. We also have other type of buckets that can be easily replaced. These are for round bottom. It says right here, round bottom tubes only. They've got a flat bottom insert, soft rubber that conforms to a round bottle tube. You don't put these in here, even though they'll fit, because the hard V-shaped insert in the bottom will cause the tube to deform and possibly fail and certainly crack over time. Likewise, even if this fits, the bottom of this isn't fit and will not be supported by this type of bucket holder. And so if you spin on this, it might not break the first time, but it certainly could and will definitely have failure later on. So we have multiple types of buckets. You notice here these buckets have different levels of inserts. These buckets do not have the same mass, so if you're going to use two different kinds of buckets, they have to have the same buckets across from each other, and you would have to have two buckets of the same type across there. So this is a legal spin. This is perfectly fine. This is not. They do not have the same mass. Do not assume just because they're the same basic size that they would be the same mass. The other thing to be sure of, so here are two yellow tubes, because somebody may have removed one or two of these because maybe they had shorter tubes. You just very gently and carefully twist this back and take it off and push it back on. So now we have two different masses to these buckets, and make sure they match up before you go in. Don't assume that they're already fitting. The other type of bucket we have for the centrifuge is for a 96 well plate. This has multiple plate carrier. You can put your 96 well plates in here, place in here. We have 4 of these. You can spin many plates at one time, but like the others, you just simply replace across, and you would have another plate carrier on this side when you spin this. You do not have to have all 4 as a plate carrier, but the bucket, the rotor holder across from the plate carrier has to be another plate carrier. So to utilize this, to use this system, as we said, you have to have across from each other. But one of the nice benefits about using this centrifuge is that above and below the rotor are ball bearings that will move around based on the balance of this instrument. So you do not have to use a pan balance to balance the tubes across from each other. You still have to have the balance between the opposite sides pretty close, but they can actually be off. So the manufacturer recommends that you just eyeball them. In fact, if you were perfectly balanced, each tube in each bucket, the manufacturer states that the ball bearings that move around in here would actually have a hard time, and so they actually want a tiny bit of unbalance in there. So just eye volume checking the various tubes you have on here is good enough. So that's actually a real bonus and incentive to use this instrument. So when we're in here, we're balanced, we're symmetric, we have opposite size buckets, they're all on here nice and firm, no problem. This has been tightened down. So use two hands, as it shows here and here, to close and push with a little bit of pressure till you hear a click, and then it's time to go. So you have the option of either setting this for RPM or relative centrifugal force, RCF. You press either one and enter your number in. So in this case, I'll enter in, let's say 3,000, and then hit enter. You can adjust the time up or down. I'll hit the time for 5 minutes, enter, and then if you want to change the temperature, right now it's at 4 degrees, I'll leave it at that. There's an X here because behind the X is rotor. We only have the one rotor. If you start pressing this button and program the wrong rotor, you'll get an imbalance error, and then the instrument won't work. The accel and deaccel, unless you're working with something that's in a gradient or very fragile, you can slow down the acceleration time and slow down the braking time, the deacceleration time, using these two. So if you have a specific need for changing the spin up and the spin down on the centrifuge, you would use these. Almost all applications we use here, you just leave those as the standard default setting. If there's a program that your lab uses on a regular basis, let's say you know you always want to spin at certain RPM for a certain time at a certain temperature, maybe you want to accel and deaccel at a certain level, you can go ahead and set the program and just remember that, and then you can scan through the program button. The manual to tell you how to program this is in the drawer adjacent to the centrifuge. So then lastly, when you're done, hit enter twice, once, twice, and hit start. You'll see the RPMs go up. At about 200 or 300, it'll check the revolutions to see that it's got the right balance, and we'll continue on. If not, it will stop and give you an unbalanced error. And we're set right now. We're going to go ahead and stop this for now. Notice there's a pulse. So pulse will just give a quick spin up and spin down. Let's say you just want to get all your sample to the bottom of your tube or plate. You can just simply hold pulse to get it up to the speed you want, let go, and it'll start braking, so you don't have to do all the settings. That's it. Just make sure you're balanced across from each other, that you have a symmetrical pattern to what you're loading into those buckets. Check the buckets and make sure that they have the same number of inserts here, so they're the same mass as they sit across from each other. If you have any problems, the manual is there. Sharon Ferguson or myself will help out if you have any needs. Thank you very much.